Who's ready to learn how to stack and tort a cake? You know, honestly, I don't even know what tort means, but everyone says it, so we're gonna stack and tort a cake. I like these acrylic ones because they look modern and you can see through them, and everyone uses the ugly paper ones that look like cardboard. So we're gonna be classy and we're gonna use this one. You don't need a whole lot of stuff. You need an offset spatula. I like to use a small one because I'm doing a 6-inch cake. You're probably thinking, what the hell is she holding? This is a hemming ruler that tailors use for clothes. I will have you know that some of the best cakers in the world use this exact tool. Why? Because it's stainless steel and it's food safe. It's very thin and flexible, so when you grab it, you can easily maneuver it, and it's not big and heavy like some of the acrylic scrapers are. So the first thing we're gonna do is make our cake layers even. As you can see, one is a little lower, one's higher, and one's sort of in the middle. So we wanna make them all the same height. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna put it on my turntable. This is an Ateco turntable. It's sort of like the Rolls Royce of turntables. It's really smooth and fast. So we're gonna place it in the center. And then if you have a bread knife or any type of serrated knife, this will work. With a level hand, you wanna go on the very edge where the mound starts. So place one hand on top of the cake and then sort of start to serrate the knife like this. And then as you go, we don't wanna go in, we wanna go around. So turn the cake as you do this and try to stay in a straight line. We're gonna do the very, very outer layer first. Once you circle the entire cake once, then you start to push the knife in just a little bit. So we're gonna slowly just sort of bury the knife inside, and this is gonna give us the straightest cut versus just slicing all the way through. So just keep going until it gets to the middle, and then it pops right off. And as you can see, it's a perfectly flat cake. You really don't need any of those special tools like the cake levelers and all those things that they try to sell you. You don't need it, because you can do this. It's perfect. So you wanna do this to a cold cake. You don't wanna try this on a hot cake. So now I'm gonna do all of them. I'm gonna take my offset spatula, roll up my sleeves. I'm gonna take a little bit of this frosting that I made, and I'm gonna put it right in the center of my cake board. And I'm just gonna smooth it out, and this is gonna act like glue for the bottom of the cake to stick on. Pick a cake, any cake, doesn't matter. Put it right in the center. This is gonna be my first layer of cake. Now, a lot of people like to use piping bags, and they get all fancy and they use all this stuff, but I don't like to clean up mess. So this is the easiest way to do it. Just dump it on, because I'm gonna smooth it out anyway. So I'm just going back and forth and sort of pushing it out towards the edges. So you wanna go a little bit over the edges so that it kind of spills out. This will prevent us from having to fill in too many holes in between. I'm just sort of doing this, and then you can also hold it like this and then just turn your table and keep a steady hand, and it'll flatten it out evenly for you, and you can pull it out towards the edges. So there we go. That's our first layer. My next layer, and place it right on top of the other. Before you push down, make sure it's completely even, and then I'm gonna sort of sandwich it down. Not too much frosting, because I'm gonna make sure we have enough for the outside. And then I'm just gonna sort of hold the bottom layer so that the cake doesn't shift. Since I'm not using buttercream, whenever I crumb coat this and put it in the refrigerator, it's not gonna harden because there's no butter in it. This is actually a little bit more difficult of a frosting to use if you're a beginner. I suggest using a Swiss meringue buttercream or an Italian meringue buttercream, or even American if you're just beginning, because those are butter-based and they set up hard in the fridge, so it's much easier to fix mistakes. For your final top layer, instead of placing it like this, you're gonna flip it, big secret there, and put it right on top. And the reason we're gonna do this is because it's a lot easier. There's less crumbs on this side. We're gonna do a big scoop on top, and this is gonna become our crumb coat. Gently press this down, and you can scrape some of the excess off here. Same principle that we did with the inner layers, except this time it's gonna fall over the sides. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go kind of down the cake as best as you can. The whole point of the crumb coat is not so that it looks pretty, it's just so that it fills in all the holes, and that anywhere where the cake is exposed, there's at least a little bit of frosting on it. So anywhere you see cake, there should be at least a little bit of frosting on it. So I'm gonna place the hemming ruler right up against the cake. It's not gonna be flat like this because you don't want too much flatness on it. It's just sort of the edge, and it's not a 90 degree, it's more like a 45. And then I'm slowly just gonna hold it still as I turn the tray. And you wanna just apply a little bit of even pressure along all of your fingers so that you don't have like a weird shape that you're creating. You want it to stay that straight shape, flatten off the top. And this doesn't have to be perfect because, like I said, this is just the crumb coat. So I'm just gonna finish flattening out the top a little bit so that I can put my next layer on. I'm gonna put my crumb coat cake in the fridge for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna take it out and finish frosting it. Okay, so I got my crumb coated cake out of the freezer. Big important step here, clean your tools off, clean your workspace, clean up all the crumbs, and then begin this step. So this is where we're gonna pack on the frosting. Spatula, place it halfway in, and turn the table while my spatula is at an angle. And what this is gonna do, as you can see, it's gonna push the frosting out. It's gonna sort of fan out towards the edges. If you get too much there, it's okay if it goes over. That's actually good. We call that an edge. I'm going all the way around, and as you can see, my top layer is thinning out and it's starting to fan out towards the edges. I'm just gonna spread out the frosting across the cake. And try not to damage the under layer, but spread it out as best as you can. The whole point is you want more frosting than is actually gonna end up on this cake, because the more frosting you have on it, the easier it will be to fill in all the mistakes and gaps. This part is not to achieve something that looks good. This part is to ensure that we are evenly frosting the cake. So it's a 45-degree angle, a little bit of pressure, 4-finger spread, and you're just gonna turn the stand slowly at first. That's a good pass. So we wanna just keep doing that. And then you'll start to notice some areas are gonna look a little bit more bare than others, and that's where we're gonna start filling in our gaps. Just a little bit of frosting over it, and then there's one right here. And then I'm gonna go directly in front of that and pull. So with my spatula, I'm gonna grab the edge and sort of just pull it in like that. And you can scrape your frosting, and then you're gonna wanna wipe it off. And then turn, and we just continue to do this around the cake, and we're gonna have to do it several times. Okay, so now that we've attacked the sides and the edges of the cake, it's time to tackle this little mound on the top. I'm letting it hang there, and I just pull, 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 and then right before I get to the edge, I lift it. So that's it. I'm gonna decorate it for St. Patrick's Day. Okay, so I've got a 18-inch piping bag. Basically, I've put this in a glass to hold it upright, and I'm gonna put the rest of my frosting in here. Right. That's all the frosting I got left, so we're not gonna waste any. I'm gonna pull it all the way to the bottom, get the air out, twist. One hand grabs it like this, wrap the excess around your thumb, and this is how you're gonna squeeze. And just with even pressure, I'm gonna lift. This will be a cute cactus cake. A lot of times when I'm designing cakes, I don't know what I'm doing until I start doing it. Well, isn't that adorable? Okay, so I'm using pot of gold, and I have a big giant bag because that's just how I roll. I think I'm gonna use the sixlets, and I'm gonna put them on top of each mound, and you can sort of design better that way. I actually designed this sprinkle blend, and I called it pot of gold because I wanted it to resemble sort of what's at the end of a rainbow. I'm just gonna grab a little handful of these and start sprinkling them over the center. And I like decorating on a turntable, that way you can sort of manipulate the cake. The benefit of pouring them out in a bowl is that you can sort of pick and choose which ones you want versus which ones you want to avoid for certain areas. And I'm gonna leave the sides clean because I think it looks cool when it's all on top. Looks like gold, man. So cool. Okay, so that's it. That's my cute little pot of gold St. Patrick's Day cake. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.